into a realm that's not in my lane of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting uh, few weeks or however long it takes us to go through this chapter. But I've asked Sarvatma Prabhu to reach out to some of his expert friends to also give some nice explanation of this chapter to us. So hopefully we'll schedule some special guest speakers soon.
That will be really nice. Yeah, it's so nice to be able to hear from devotees that this is their lane that they walk in. The science of Krishna consciousness is so beautiful. The transcendental science. Yeah. Anyway, I'm simply here as a servant, begging to continue to be grateful for the next hour. Hi, Prabhu. So I'm going to just start chanting. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjan Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjan Jamuna Tira Panachari Jamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Rajajanaranjan Yasodanandana Rajajanaranjan Jamunatira Panachari Jamunatira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe Jaya Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe Jaya Goranita Goranitai Jaya Goranitai Jaya Gora Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhakacharya Stotara Satashi Srimad. His Divine Grace of Bhajanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhakacharya Stotara Satashi Srimad. His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaivam Narottamam Devam Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Murdayat. Nasta Prayasho Badreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevayat. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 16, Text 1. And this is a new chapter. And when Yashadev sent me the text yesterday, he said, very difficult chapter. And I thought, oh, how wonderful devotees, they like to take risk and enter into difficult things because that's how we learn, that's how we grow. So I thought, okay, Krishna, please help me. So here we are today. I'm going to chant the verse. Well, I'll just read the verse actually, and then we'll, yeah.
Well, Mother Vraja-Lila,
Yes, Prabhuji.
would you please read the chapter summary before you start the verse?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, yes. That's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you. Jai, a description of Jambudvipa. While describing the character of Maharaj Priyavrata and his descendants, Shukadeva Goswami also described Meru Mountain and the planetary system known as Bhumandala. Bhumandala is like a lotus flower, and its 7 islands are compared to the world of the lotus. The place known as Jambudvipa is in the, Tarka, you're a computer person. Would you be willing to pull it up on the screen? I would have prepared to do that. However, I didn't think about it. It's much easier for people to follow if it's on screen.
I have already put it in the chat.
Oh, okay, beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Jambudvipa is, okay, let's see. Its 7 islands are compared to the world of the lotus. The place known as Jambudvipa is in the middle of that world. In Jambudvipa, there is a mountain known as Sumeru, which is made of solid gold. The height of this mountain is 84,000 yojanas, of which 16,000 yojanas are below the earth. Its width is estimated to be 32,000. I don't know if you pronounce that yojanas or yoganas. I say yojanas.
Yojanas.
Yojanas at its summit and 16,000 yojanas at its foot. 1 yojana equals approximately 8 miles. This king of mountains, Sumeru, is the support of the planet Earth. On the southern side of the land known as Lilavrita, Varsha, are the mountains known as Himavan, Himakota, and Nishadha. Nishadha, interesting. And on the northern side are the mountains Nila, Shweta, and Shringa. Similarly, on the eastern and western side, there are Malyavan and Gandhamadana, 2 large mountains. Surrounded Sumeru Mountain are 4 mountains known as Mandara. Meru Mandara, Suparsva, and Umada, each 10,000 yojanas long and 10,000 yojanas high. On these 4 mountains, there are trees 1,100 yojanas high, a mango tree, a rose apple tree, a kadamba tree, and a banyan tree. There are also lakes full of milk, honey, sugarcane juice, and pure water. These lakes can fulfill all desires. There are also gardens named Nandana, Chitrarath, Vibharajaka, and the Sarvatobhadra. On the other side of Suparishva mountain is a kadamba tree with streams of honey flowing from its hollows. And on Kumudha mountain, there is a banyan tree named Satavalsa, from whose root flows rivers containing milk, yogurt, and many other desirable things. Surrounding Sumeru mountain, like filaments of the whirl of a lotus, are 20 mountain ranges, such as Puranga, Purana, Ushumba, Vaikanta, and Trikuta. To the east of Sumeru are the mountains Jatara and Devakuta. To the west are Pavana and Pariyatra. To the south are Kailash and Kairavira. To the north are Trishringa and Makara. These 8 mountains are 18,000 yojanas long, 2,000 yojanas wide, and 2,000 yojanas high. On the summit of Mount Sumeru is Brahmapuri, the residence of Lord Brahma. Each of its 4 sides is 10,000 yojanas long. Surrounding Brahmapuri are the cities of King Indra and 7 other demigods. These cities are 1/4 in the size of Brahmapura. Okay, that was the summary. Now we're just going to read the text and the synonyms and the translations. Translation. So I'm going to read that. Rajo Vacha. Uktas Twaya Bhuma Mandala Yama Vishesho Yadva Adityas Tapati Yatra. Is that R? Rasho Jyotisham Ganesh Chandrama Va Saha Drishyate. Rajo Uvacha. Parikshit Maharaj said. Uktaha, already been said. Twaya, by you. Bhumandala, of the planetary system known as Bhumandala. Ayama Visheshaha, the specific length of the radius. Yavat, as far as. Aditya, the sun. Tapati, heats. Yatra, wherever. Cha, also, as show that. Jyotisham, of the luminaries. Ganahi, with hordes. Chandrama, the moon. Va, either. Saha, with. Drishyate, is seen. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. King Parikshit said to Shukadev Goswami, O Brahmana, you've already informed me that the radius of Bhumandala extends as far as the sun spreads its light and heat, and as far as the moon and all the stars can be seen. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this verse, it is stated that the planetary system known as Bhumandala extends to the limits of the sunshine. According to modern science, the sunshine reaches Earth from a distance of 93 million miles. If we calculate according to modern information, 93 million miles can be considered the radius of Bhumandala. In the Gayatri Mantra, we chant Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. The word Bhur refers to Bhumandala, Tat Savitur Varenyam. The sunshine spreads throughout Bhumandala. Therefore, the sun is worshipable. The stars, which are known as nakshatra, are not different suns, as modern astronomers suppose. From Bhagavad Gita 10:21, we understand that the stars are similar to the moon. Nakshatranam aham shashi. Like the moon, the stars reflect the sunshine. Apart from our modern distinguished estimation of where the planetary systems are located, we can understand that the sky and its various planets were studied long, long before Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled. Shukadeva Goswami explained the location of the planets, and this indicates that the information was known long, long before Shukadeva Goswami related it to Maharaj Parikshit. The location of the various planetary systems was not unknown to the sages who flourished in the Vedic age. Om Ganati Mirandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chakshu Amalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastai Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivrishesha Sunyavadi Pashatyadi Shatarane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastai Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane Shigora Karuna Shakti Bhaktivedanta Tinamane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhakti Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Panchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasintu Cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namah. Hare Hare. So, recently I was having a conversation, a text conversation with my son, who is a PA. What does that mean? A physician assistant in a hospital in Virginia. And he thinks of himself as a scientist. Whenever we have conversations about Krishna consciousness, he always tries to take it into the scientific realm. I guess because he had to study science to do the service he's doing, the work he's doing. Anyway, in this conversation, I recently had a family member leave the body. And so I was asking him, I said, well, you can pray for the soul. And he wrote me back and he said, that's not my lane, that's your lane. You stay in your lane and I'll stay in mine. And I just thought it was so funny because, yeah, that's the mood of people in modernity and people that think that everything is separate from the Lord. Like they don't understand that everything actually is originated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So this this chapter is definitely going into a realm of understanding Krishna from a perspective of science. And I thought this is so interesting because there's so much that I can learn from this. So I wanted to share some aspects of this verse that are important for my own learning and my own growing. One of the first points that I questioned myself as I read this translation is, why is Maharaj Parikshit asking these kinds of questions? He's dying. What is the reason, because for him to be questioning about the universe? I have some experience of when people are dying, they don't want to think about anything that could sound material. Usually they're saying, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not any of these things that's related to the material world. And usually they only want to hear knowledge about Krishna, or they only want to hear about Krishna's activities or Krishna's pastimes. And here we see Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring from his guru, from Shukadeva Goswami, about the measurement and the characteristics of the earth. It's kind of interesting. That was interesting to me. And I thought, okay, what can I learn from this? Each of these verses that we are going to read in the upcoming month or so, as Yashadev Prabhu said, is that for me, it's definitely going to be a learning and a growing experience. And as I say this, I was thinking, Yashadev, you said, oh, you're asking people from the outside to come to help us to dive deeper into these verses. And I was thinking, we have our own scientists here in Gitanagari, Kala Sarup Prabhu, and I thought it'll be so nice to hear from him more than once a week because, he's a gem, he's a precious servant and precious in his understanding of these themes. And also we have our Agari Krishna Prabhu, who, he dives into some of these topics in a way that can definitely help us to, at least help me, to look at things and maybe perhaps in a way that I had not looked at it before. At least that's kind of my opinion, right? So anyway, so Parikshit, as we know, he only had 7 days to live, and he wanted to know. He wanted to understand how the way of protection before his time of death came. And so this question that came up for me, and I read it also, where others were questioning this, is why this dying king would want to know the size of the earth? Is the size of the earth a question for most people that are leaving the body? So what I learned from this, because as I researched that, what's the deal with that? Trying to understand about the earth, trying to get out of the earth, anything related to the earth. And what I learned is that Maharaj Parikshit, he was just such an amazing personality in that, he was inquiring about everything before he left. He was curious to understand everything about the magnitude of Krishna and the beauty of Krishna and how Krishna arranges everything, and just to understand Krishna in terms of not only the spiritual world, but also how Krishna is himself, arranging everything for all of humanity everywhere on any planet, any universe. And so, of course, if someone is curious and want to understand these things, then they will definitely ask questions in relationship to what we're going to be understanding more in these texts. So this was Maharaj Parikshit's situation. He was curious to understand the expansive nature of Krishna and how Krishna arranges everything. So the other point that became a question for me, some of these figures, is what is Prabhupada wanting me or anyone to understand from this verse? What would I want to understand? What do I think Prabhupada is trying to bring to my attention or to anyone's attention? Of course, there's so many things Srila Prabhupada is always bringing to our attention with all of his writings. So, however, in this verse, two things came to me that I thought, okay, I need to give some attention to that. So Prabhupada is talking about modernity and the present sciences, scientists and their conceptions of the universe. And he's also talking about ancient scientists and ancient science. And he's really kind of bringing both of those concepts and giving us then principles to understand these concepts. And so here in this text, Bhumandala is being described. And the other points I saw was Prabhupada mentioning about the Gayatri Mantra, and that immediately caught my attention, the Gayatri Mantra. Bhumandala, I believe that to those persons that's walking in that lane of understanding Yeah, I'll share a few things that I was able to read about that interest that gave me an awareness of, okay, why is Bhumandala important? And so I'll share with you some of what I learned from just doing some research. And this Srila Prabhupada reference, so maybe I'll read Srila Prabhupada's references first. Because oftentimes the devotees have difficulties, especially, and I'm saying this in a very non-critical way, I hope. The disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they have so much appreciation, of course, for their spiritual master. And sometimes there are some disciples that may not want to hear, so much from other representatives of Srila Prabhupada. However, that's not the case for those persons that have taken maybe shelter of the representatives of Srila Prabhupada. So sometimes there's a little bit of a conflict there. And when we give classes, we need to be aware of that. At least I need to be aware of that so that I can be very conscientious not to commit any offenses. So so much of this topic of Bhumandala has been spoken by Sariputta Prabhu, and we all know this. We all know that he was a scientist. We all know he represented Srila Prabhupada and gave us so much information. However, he wasn't Srila Prabhupada. So it's important to hear what Srila Prabhupada said, and then to, as humbly as possible, present some of what Srila Prabhupada's representatives said. His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj also wrote a whole book on trying to understand the Vedic perspective, right? And that's a book I recommend that devotees read if they want to understand a little bit more about the personal understanding of the Vedic perspective of some of these themes. So Bhumandala, and this is according to Srila Prabhupada, and then also Sariputta Prabhu referenced some of these themes that I'll share here, is the greater Earth Mandala, which includes the entire 14 different planetary systems that are in this single universe we're in. It is just one universe among millions. So then it seems like there's a controversy, which I'm hoping I'll get to understand a little bit more about the Earth planet and, the flatness or the roundness of Bhumandala or the Earth planet or whatever. I'm not sure in that point, but however, that's a point that I'm hoping I'll get to understand a little bit more about that. Whether what's flat, what's round, I don't know. Yeah, in terms of shapes and sizes. However, Srila Prabhupada says that Bhumandala should not be confused with our small Earth Mandala, which is, that's where the controversy comes in. Global round sphere we live on. So there's two Earth Mandala description in Srimad Bhagavatam. The large Earth Mandala called Bhumandala, which is our entire 6,438,000,000 kilometers in diameter. And then there's a small Earth Mandala. And that's as much, I think, as I'll go with understanding this, because to be honest with you, I don't really understand it. I understand that Bhumandala has 14 different planetary systems, because I understand there's many different planetary systems, and it spreads out into outer space. And I also understand that we are on a planet, Earth, which is considered a smaller planet. According to Sariputta Prabhu, this Earth planet is too small to be considered Bhumandala. And Srila Prabhupada, this is a quote from him, just like here in this planet, when you go up, you see it is, okay, so this is the roundness of, it is a ball, but when you go up, you see just like a ball. So Srila Prabhupada, he speaks on this theme, on this topic in the Bhagavad Gita. Sariputta Prabhu, he's a scientist, he speaks more about it. And there's lots of information about Bhumandala. It's important because Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring And because this is one of Krishna's creation, and because it has relevancy in terms of what modern scientific people are saying about different universal concepts and what Bhagavatam is saying. And for the devotees, of course, we understand that Srimad Bhagavatam is our authority. Bhagavatam is none different from Krishna. That's the authority we accept. So it's important for especially devotees like those devotees that are studying, that are more inclined scientifically, to be able to explain some of these topics to the people that we meet, because of course we're going to meet people that, like my son, that he just sees things from a scientific perspective. And so, which is, I'm so excited to learn more myself so that I can have more intelligent conversations based in bhakti. So that's one of the purposes that I could understand from studying this verse. Another aspect of studying this verse is what was important for me was to dive a little bit deeper into the Gayatri Mantra. I remember when Prabhupada mentions here about Gayatri, in the Gayatri Mantra, we chant Om Bhurbuva Shwa, and the word Bhurbuva refers to Bhumandala. And then the other part of the Gayatri Mantra, it says that the sunshine spreads throughout Bhumandala. So when we chant the Gayatri Mantra, we're actually worshiping the sun according to Srimad Bhagavatam, according to Srila Prabhupada. So given that, I really know the importance of the sun, just in terms of my being in the different modes of material nature, I can tell, I can know, I can understand myself that everything about me tends to gravitate more towards the mode of goodness if there's sunshine. And so when I was reading that the Gayatri Mantra is, of course, we're worshiping the sun, I wanted to understand more about that. Because when I received the Gayatri Mantra, which is, I don't know how many years ago that was. But anyway, when I received the Gayatri Mantra, I was never really educated about the Gayatri Mantra. I knew that in order to chant that mantra, that certainly there's some qualities that we needed to have. We need to be exemplifying some of those qualities of at least of some goodness, some mode of goodness. And that, it connected me deeper with Krishna in his Archavirya form, and it gave me more of an opportunity to do more intimate services. I understood all that. However, I didn't really understand the real meaning of Gayatri Mantra. So over the years, of course, His Holiness Satyananda Maharaj has written a book about Gayatri Mantra. And I really appreciated reading that book, gave me a lot of insights. And so this is what I wanted to share a little bit more about this theme of Gayatri Mantra. And I want to quote some quotes. I want to share some quotes from Srila Prabhupada. He says, Gayatri Mantra, because there are some devotees here that have not yet received Gayatri Mantra. And and because it's here in this text, of course, it's related to all the scientific parts of the text. However, Prabhupada explains, he says, Gayatri Mantra, it is to be chanted by a qualified Brahmin. A devotee of Krishna is understood to have surpassed the stage of becoming qualified Brahmin. So Gayatri Mantra can be chanted by a qualified Brahmin. And the meaning of Gayatri Mantra is Gayat. Gayat means sin, and Tri means deliverance. So Gayatri, and of course mantra means mind, right? So this is so the things chanted, which one is delivered from the mental platform, is called Gayatri Mantra or mantra. So all mantras are like that. But this is the meaning of Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri Mantra is helps us to deliver the mind. And I know over the years I've heard devotees say that, if they had been chanting Gayatri for many, many years, there's a tendency that sometimes devotees may, neglect is not it's a word that has kind of, it's sort of like an imposition on the mind. It can make a person feel guilty. So I don't want to say neglect, but sometimes devotees may have different situations in their lives where they may not be chanting the Gayatri mantra that they had received. And so this is why I wanted to emphasize some points about this, because of course we always hear the chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is our deliverance. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's what he gave us. However, Prabhupada gave us also Gayatri mantra to chant, and there is a reason, there is a purpose, right? So the meaning of the first mantra is, I meditate on the sun god who is maintaining the three worlds. Savitur is the name of the sun god, but the greatest Savitur is, of course, Krishna. Therefore, it is meditation on Krishna, who is the master of all the cosmic manifestations. So that is the point for me in these verses, that ultimately, yes, Maharaj Parikshit, he wanted to understand Krishna in, his vastness. And that's so important. However, for me, in understanding all of these different cosmic manifestations of the Lord, it brings me back to the fact that this is all going on only because of the Lord's magnanimity, or because of the Lord's just how he expands and creates. And just when I think of, and I'm going to divert a little bit. Yesterday, I gave class at Bhakti Center in the morning, which is why I wasn't here. And the verse was on Uddhav in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's where they're reading now. And it was Uddhava or Uddhava. He was going to visit, he was going to the home of, he was going to Vrindavan, actually, to the home of Nanda Maharaj. And what struck me in that text was this personalism, the personalism of the Lord, and how personal Krishna was with Uddhav, and how he trusted Uddhava to go to Vrindavan. And the reason wasn't, because Uddhava was his friend, or because, Uddhava was so intelligent, because Uddhava was very intelligent, spiritually intelligent. It was because he had this ability of speaking. He could speak in such a way that he could enter into an environment where everyone was lamenting, everyone was grieving, and he would represent Krishna in such a way that he would be like a healing force, like a person that can bring, a message and be a comforter also with the message. And so when I think of these verses that we're reading now, it's like, Krishna is so amazing that he has this cosmic manifestation that we can spend time really learning about. However, Krishna, that same Krishna, is so very personal, and so much want us to remember. And this is Parikshit's mood. The reason he's learning about this, or at least he knows this, but however he's hearing about this for our benefit, is to help us to remember that ultimately all the cosmic manifestations, everything originates from the Lord, and not to forget the Lord. And so Prabhupada is mentioning that again in this, and as he spoke, these are references from Srila Prabhupada to different devotees. Then another point Prabhupada makes here is that the Gayatri mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam because the Gayatri mantra is especially meant for God realization, or Krishna realization. It represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness, according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator, and it is passed down from him in disciplic succession. So what came to my attention with just hearing this about the Gayatri Mantra is how fortunate we are. Queen Kunti, when Krishna came to her before leaving, she, in her prayers to him, she was asking, how can I, or in her teachings, like, how can I really understand, your greatness? How can I understand who you are, being in a woman's body? And of course, we know Queen Kunti is this amazing, devoted, dedicated personality, to the Lord. She even knew that Krishna was God. And so here we have Srila Prabhupada, just defying all of the principles of women in terms of how women are understood in some of the Vedic, in some aspects of the Vedic culture. And he defied that by giving women Brahmin initiation, by saying that women are qualified to chant the Gayatri Mantra. And so this is, again, Srila Prabhupada's mercy, Srila Prabhupada's grace, that he saw that in the West, the women can have qualities that made them qualified to chant this Gayatri Mantra. Generally, Gayatri Mantra was not given to women because it's considered very sacred. So in the Gayatri Mantra, Prabhupada says, we chant Om Bhurbhuvah Tat Savitar Varenyam. Above the and here goes the scriptures, above the Bhuloka planetary system is Bhuvarloka, and above that is Swargaloka and the heavenly planetary system. And these planetary systems are controlled by Savita, the sun god, by chanting the Gayatri Mantra. Just after rising early in the morning, one worships the sun god. That's what Prabhupada references in this text. Another point here is deliverance from this struggle constitutes the highest benefit, but unless one gets a mantra from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, deliverance is impossible. The beginning mantra is the Gayatri Mantra. Therefore, after purification, when one is qualified to become a Brahmana, he is offered the Gayatri Mantra. Simply by chanting the Gayatri Mantra, one can be delivered. This mantra, however, is suitable only for Brahmanas and demigods. In Kali Yuga, we're all in a very difficult position in which we need a suitable mantra that can deliver us from the dangers of this age. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation as Lord Chaitanya gives us the Hare Krishna mantra. So we can understand, okay, we so unfortunate in this age of Kali. But by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we were given this opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we've been given the mercy and the grace to be able to chant the Gayatri Mantra, to enter into this amazing relationship, personal relationship with the Lord. Okay, so yeah, so my point for sharing these, well, why did I share this, is because sometimes, this process of Krishna consciousness, after someone's been doing it for some time, we can become a little lax with some of the process. And this particular process of chanting Gayatri Mantra, which is for our benefit, to help us with our minds, is so very key and so very important. And so to be able to understand it. So for those of you that have not yet gotten the Gayatri Mantra, and aspiring to receive the Gayatri Mantra, aspiring to develop more of a personal relationship with the Lord, it's really key to at least have some knowledge about it, to have some understanding about it. And it's mentioned here. So Prabhupada wants us to know, he wants us to have some understanding of why and how important it is. How is it connected? What is the purpose of it? That why we chant it. So that's some of the things that I could come up with. I mean, there's so much about this one text. There's so much and we can learn from it. However, from those two points for me were important, that modernity, there's a book I read not too long ago, and that book was ancient science and the ignorance of modernity. And that's basically, what Srila Prabhupada wants us to understand in these texts, the greatness of Krishna and how these ancient scientists, people like Vyasadeva, people like Narada Muni, like Brahma, these are all ancient scientists. And they've taught us so much. And most people tend to, listen to the modern scientists, people that have no understanding, no knowledge of Vedic cosmology. And this is why Parikshit Maharaj is giving us this entrance into understanding Vedic cosmology, which, yeah, I'm so very grateful for that. As I said to yesterday when we started the class, I'm just grateful because although we hear, so much about Vedic cosmology, we know that our spiritual cosmology is what's really important, our understanding of Krishna. That's the most important, and to understand how Krishna is related with all of these different aspects of what we learn in Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's the point. There is a text here, 1021, and maybe those of you that would like to share more on this verse, I'm really happy to hear your input. I'm grateful that I was able to just understand a little bit deeper and more about the Gayatri Mantra. And yeah, thank you so very much, Nitagora Haribol. So I'm really eager to hear some of your input. Gave us a lot of time for this. What are some of your reflections yesterday, Prabhu? I know this is a busy time in the mornings, but I'm just curious. What is if you have any reflections? Taka Prabhu, I know he has lots of reflections, just trying to get a couple other people before Taka Prabhu shares with us.
Thank you, Mataji. I appreciate how your perspective on the verse, on the chapter, on the whole section, was to first consider what does Prabhupada want us to get out of this. Prabhupada, of course, is always trying to make us Krishna conscious and seeing the way to tie it to Krishna in all ways. And so I appreciate that you brought it back to Gayatri mantras. We're chanting it every day, 3 times, hopefully. And, we should really consider what it is that we're meditating on. And what I'm getting from you this morning is that although I might not fully comprehend what's going on in the distant parts of the universe, at least I can appreciate the magnificence and the glory of God and just how remarkable this creation is, especially as we're chanting the Gayatri mantras. So that's my meditation for today, thanks to your impetus and inspiration.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. There are so many personalities that really have dived deep into these themes in this chapter. And it's always wonderful to hear from them, So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this little drop today, this little drop of nectar from Bhagavatam, to remember to chant Gayatri Mantra 3 times a day and to know why we're chanting it. Yeah. Anyone else? I see Lila Kishir is here. Tishina, such a beautiful name. Lauren, so nice to see you here. Agari's with the cows. Yeah, there's quite a few devotees here. Thank you so much. Ajamil Prabhu, Premakeshwari, Parameshwari, Sachi, JPT, Jagannath Pandit. Okay. Well, there's some scholars here. Please share. Tarka Prabhu. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I want to thank you for a nice class. You have a wonderfully analytical mind. I'm appreciating your thought processes and how you are drawing out the important points of this verse. I really liked your question. Why did Maharaj Parikshit inquire about this, this aspect of the cosmology, of the material creation? So seems like a peculiar thing, but really important question. And Yashadev Prabhu hit the nail on the head when he mentioned appreciating the magnificence of the creation.
Yeah.
To be able to understand Krishna fully, it's just such a very important thing. Srimad Bhagavatam is, for Maharaj Parikshit in particular, it was all about hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order for him to be able to fix his mind on Krishna at the time of his passing. One of the aspects of Krishna is his material creation, his external energy. To appreciate that aspect of Krishna, how it is working, how it has been engineered, is one way in which we appreciate the glories of Krishna. From Bhagavad Gita, we have, where is that in it? The 10th canto. Yad yad vibhutimat satvam Srimad urjitam eva va tad eva gachatvam mama tejo sambhavam, that any glorious, know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So this is it's a wonderful meditation on Krishna for those who are not at the platform of understanding Krishna from a transcendental perspective, without necessarily having sufficient purity to be able to understand the transcendent nature of Krishna. You can appreciate Krishna as he is manifested within the scope of material nature, and the fact that the entire material nature is also springing from him. So there's many ways to understand and appreciate Krishna's greatness by studying the material nature. And so there, in Shastra, there are studies of different aspects of the material nature to enhance the reader's ability to appreciate Krishna's greatness. If when you want to understand something about a person, any person, and let's say you're introducing someone, even here at Gitanagar, we have a guest speaker, and someone introduces him to the audience. So you explain something about the activities of that person, what that person has done. This particular person has worked in this particular yatra for so many years. They established this and that. They accomplished so many things. Whomever it might be, whatever their field of activity is. This person is an engineer. He was responsible for some very important aspects of the construction of the Verrazano Bridge or whatever, so you can understand something about the greatness of that person on the basis of his accomplishments. And so same thing with Krishna. We're trying to understand something about him, and by understanding his material nature and the creations within that nature, we understand a whole bunch about his greatness. But even all of that, as great as it is, as great as the material universe is, and it's only one out of innumerable universes, Krishna explains that that's all of it is springing only from a spark of his splendor. Later in Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, then Krishna explains the universal form. Another way to understand Krishna within the scope of material nature. So these are all processes for enhancing one's meditation on Krishna, and so it's really not such an unusual thing for Maharaj Parikshit to ask. It's an important question, and the answer to it greatly enhances one's appreciation of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the source of everything. So there's that. I also want to express my appreciation for your discussion of the Gayatri mantra. We're talking now about the first line of Gayatri. There are 7 lines of the Gayatri mantra which have been given to us by Srila Prabhupada, and what he has presented in this purport is the first line. Elsewhere in his books, he gives several of the other lines of Gayatri, or even all of them are given. Early in the movement, it was the understanding of all the devotees that these mantras are kind of a secret. For those who are not second initiated, they should not have access to this. It can only be chanted by those who are second initiated. And so we were very surprised to see that Srila Prabhupada had actually put them in print in his purports. Various lines of Gayatri are sprinkled here and there throughout the books. But one may read them and even try to chant them if they have not been second initiated, but you will not be able to derive the proper benefit from that chanting without having undergone the process of second initiation and without being actually qualified. Second initiation will come when well, really, Srila Prabhupada indicated that second initiation doesn't necessarily mean that you're qualified. It is a chance to become qualified. Doesn't mean that now you are a Brahmin. It means now you have the opportunity to develop the Brahminical qualities and become a Brahmin. But second initiation is the authorization to chant the Gayatri mantras.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all I have. Thanks again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prabhu. That was very illuminating. You bringing in these points. I love that you brought that Bhagavad Gita verse of Krishna and his splendor, all his splendor. So wonderful. As you were speaking, I got another thought about, I remember a devotee sharing with me that they felt a little traumatized by how they were indoctrinated about the material world and how the material world has nothing good about it, and as a young person growing up, and then they became an adult and realized that they did have to interact in the material world to take care of their family, and started understanding that they were traumatized by that early teachings. And as you were speaking and as I was reading, trying to understand this verse a little bit, I fully could grasp that intimacy of Merchant March asking these questions, because it definitely gives us a broad understanding of Krishna's how Krishna creates the material world, and how just learning about this Bhumandala, just learning and watching some of the diagrams and things like that. And it's just like very wonderful to understand, as you said, Krishna's splendor. The material world is just one of Krishna's splendor. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear devotees. Again,
you have there's a lengthy comment in the chat from Leela Kishore.
Oh, okay. I'll share that for everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for this inspiring, informative class. Whoa. I am caring for my grandchildren this morning and not able to stay for the entire class. I especially appreciated your kindness in explaining the magnitude and importance of the Gayatri Mantra. I'm always humbled by and grateful for your instruction in your association. Thank you, Tarka Prabhu, for your consistent service in posting the verses and for sharing your realizations and wisdom. You encourage and inspire me to continue pressing forward on the path of Bhakti Yoga. I'm feeling very grateful and blessed. Yeah, thank you, Leela Kishore, for always being in the mood of appreciation and, acknowledging devotees. Such an important thing, personalism. That's our philosophy, is to be personal. As Krishna, he's personal. So personal, creates these amazing universes. Very personal. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Leela. Thank you for sharing. Okay, dear devotees. If there isn't anyone else that's here, Lauren, thank you. Lauren has just been so enthusiastic to hear. It's very, very wonderful. Hare Krishna. Hare. Okay, dear friends, I will speak with you again. I don't know, Yashadev, about these verses. I'm not sure, about giving classes on these verses. But anyway, you're the boss, so we'll just listen to what you said. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, everyone. See you soon, Friday, for Gita Advent or Gita celebration or whatever we're going to call it. Let's come together to share Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.